basically it. So first thing we want to do, let's make sure we set up our units. We're going to type in units, click enter. All right, we want decimal, precision 0, down to the millimeter of accuracy, not 0.10 of a millimeter, not 1/100ths. Decimal degrees, precision 0, international units, perfect. Next thing we want to do is we're going to set our limits. Limits represent the area in which we could draw lines and all kinds of geometry. So if I draw a limit from the origin to, basically if I draw it within this box, that means that any line that we attempt to draw outside this box will not be able to be drawn. So it forces you to stay within the limits of this box. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to type in limits. It's going to ask for what's the lower corner of that box, that boundary box, 0. And then we're going to say, okay, comma 0, because that's the origin. The origin, like in math, is 0, 0. And then what's the upper right corner? We're just going to pick somewhere up here, because you're going to be drawing your orthographic drawings right below each corresponding exercise. Okay, so we set up our units, we set up our limits. Next thing we're going to do, make sure the grid is turned on, snap is turned on. In case your snap settings are not on correctly or there's some kind of issue, just go to the right drop bar, snap settings, object snap, just make sure that they're all selected. We're going to click OK. Next thing we're going to do is make sure that this dynamic input mode is turned on. There's different types of ways to draw geometry in AutoCAD. We're going to use dynamic input mode. If you don't see that, you're going to go to the customization bar with the 3 lines at the bottom right corner. You're going to click on that, and we're going to scroll up, find dynamic input, and make sure that it has that little check mark beside it. If it doesn't appear. But it's very easy to re-add it on. Okay? So, next thing we're going to do is, okay, we're going to take a look at the object. And what do we see here? Well, we have 3 elevations, and we know we have 3 views that we're going to be drawing. Every view is going to be spaced 50 millimeters apart. So we need to understand each view in order to then recreate it with the right types of lines and dimensions. So the front elevation, it's 60 millimeters tall, 60 millimeters wide, then it goes down 30, across 60, down 30, and then it's 120 wide if you do the math, right? So that is the front elevation. The top elevation, it's 60 by 60, and then it goes down 30, but we can't see that it goes down when you're looking at it from the top. So then it goes down another, or I'll cross another 60, and then 60. So it should look like 2 squares. And then same with the right side elevation. It's 60 wide, 30 millimeters up, and then 30 millimeters up, and 60 wide. So it'll have, again, that sort of 2 square look to it. And so let's start making them. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that we have the right types of lines. And so what we're going to do is we're going to click on the layer property menu. We're going to double click on this gray parallelogram here where it says visible line. So the only types of lines we're going to use for these exercises are visible lines, hidden lines, and construction lines. Visible lines represent the actual object itself. Hidden lines represent the geometry of the object we can't see depending on the view we look at them. And then the construction lines are just guidelines to help line up our geometry for our hidden lines and for our visible lines. It's really that simple. So we're going to close. And before I close, I'm just going to mention that I will teach you how to set up your layers and how to do all this stuff in a later lesson. We are now ready to draw. So let's go to line. I'm going to start from the bottom right corner of the front elevation. You can do that if you want. You could start from the bottom right. It's completely up to you. Just make sure you do these drawings right. That's all that matters. With the right layer, the right dimensions, and that's it. So we're going to go 60 up, 60 across, 30 down, 60 across. Now that I'm down here, I could go 30 down, or I can, here's a little trick. You see these little green dotted lines? They're called guide rays. I can use them to my advantage. So I have, when I move vertically, I have a guide ray that goes up and down, the green dotted line. If I hover over and you see that little the green box that exists at the bottom left point, and it's saying endpoint, that's good. So hover over it, don't click it. And what you're going to do is you're going to slowly drag your mouse to the right. And now look at that. It's creating a horizontal guide ray, which eventually should intersect the vertical guide ray. So then what you're going to do is you're going to select. Okay, look at that. It now snapped exactly where you needed it to. And then you're going to just close the object, click escape. There's more than one way to create shapes, and you could create lines by clicking on line. You can type line, and that sort of idea that you can create anything you want in AutoCAD through more than one sort of set of steps is the case. Like there's more than one way to skin the cat, so to speak, in AutoCAD. So now we have our first front elevation. We're going to go back to layer properties, and then we're going to go and double click the construction line layer. And what we're going to do is we're going to select every corner on the top side and on the right side, because we're not putting any views to the left or below this shape. So only on the top faces and on the right faces they matter, because we're putting an object above and to the right. Okay, so we're going to go 50 millimeters up. Again, 50 millimeters. Uh-oh, angle's not exactly straight. It's supposed to be a straight line. So I'm going to click Tab. I'm going to type in 90. I'm going to click Enter. And same thing as I did here, I'm using two guide rays to help create the length of that line without having to do the math. I could do the same here. It's 80, but I can just use guide rays to my advantage. And now let's make the, excuse me, let's make the guidelines on this side. So we know it has to be 50. And we know that this has to be 50. All right. So one more thing we need to consider, and I'm going to introduce this new concept to you. It's called a reflection line. It allows you to take the geometry from the plan view and reflect it onto the right side view so you could capture everything more easily. How do we create this reflection line and how it'll work? I will show you in 1 minute. So this line here at the right and upmost point, you're going to go 50 across. Make sure that is 0. Sometimes it says 0, but it's really a very, very small decimal point. So we just need to make sure it is exactly 0. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a line that's roughly 150 millimeters wide on a 45-degree angle. And there you go. Now you have a reflection line. We're going to leave that alone for a minute. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw our plan view. So we're going to go back to visible line, turn that layer on. And we know it's 60 by 60. All right. Now, here is the next trick. How do we actually use the reflection line? So we're going to use construction lines to reflect. So we're going to activate that. So we're going to take a construction line here. I could make it go through. I could try to snap what I would like to do. It's hard to tell exactly where it is. Now, the snap settings may not make this super easy, because look, it's saying 0, it's saying 0. But notice how I'm changing I'm technically changing the line, but the angle's not changing. So that's something you have to be very careful of, because it's not showing, it's still saying 0, but Because we turn decimal precision off, or we set it to the lowest level precision, you're not going to see what angle that truly is. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the line right through, as long as it's a straight line. And then what we're going to do is, here's a new little trick that I'll go into detail amongst others, is we're going to go to the scissors, click trim. You're just going to highlight the square right over there and trim that off. Now I've introduced you to trim. Very basic command, but you will see it again very soon. So what do we need to do next? Oh, look at this. We forgot a guideline here. So let's put this in real quick. So we need to reflect this plan view so that we can understand how we're going to make our right elevation. Okay, so we're going to follow this guideline. This guideline will just come down here. And then this line here will come down and it'll line up with the top of this geometry here. Now look at this. We know what our base, roughly we have a pretty good understanding of what our right elevation is going to look like. We know that this is the top right corner and this is the bottom left corner. So with that information, we can start drawing. And there you have it. You've now made a fully working orthographic drawing. Your front elevation, your plan view, your right elevation. In case you're worried that you might have got your dimensions off, you could click this ruler command and go in. Okay, 60 by 60, 60 by 60. Okay, everything's looking good, right? Oh, did I do the right spacing? Okay, it's 50 vertically, 60 wide. Okay, it's really that simple. We could just click escape. And I'd like you to present all your lines. Now, in reality, when you're doing drawings, you don't want to show all your construction lines because there's going to be thousands of them. So what we can do is this little light bulb here, I'm going to show you a little trick now, but you'll see it in greater detail. It turns them off. But for the purposes of this assignment, keep them on. And then what I'm going to have you do is create your orthographic drawings for each exercise. Remember, grades 10, you're going to be doing exercises 1 to 3. Grades 11, 4 to 5. Okay? And that is basically it. Just note as well, for exercises 3, 4, and 5, you will have to use the hidden line. This is what it looks like. It's dotted, it's dashed. You're going to have to use that strategically, okay? But for now, this is what we're looking for. Your construction lines are set up, your reflection lines in place, your visible lines are there, everything's the right dimension, and that's basically it. And then for exercises 3, 4, 5, you have your hidden lines in the right places. Now that you've completed your first walkthrough with me, and let's say you're now ready. Okay, sir, I've finished all my exercises. I'm ready to save and submit. We are then going to go to the top quick access toolbar. That's what this is called. We're going to select not the save button, but the save as button. We're going to click and we're going to change the file name. We're going to call it, instead of drafting practice, we're going to call it Ruggeri, or whatever your last name is, underscore drafting practice, or just call it drafting. And where do you want to save it? Wherever you won't lose it. So this is a very good time in your downloads folder to create a new folder. And maybe you want to call it AutoCAD. And go inside by double clicking that folder and save that file right there. That is it. And then from now, all you have to do is upload that file, that DWG file that you just did for all the other exercises assigned to you to Google Classroom. Thank you.